Well, I got a sad story for you guys. One thing before you get into this video, this is not to justify anything you're going to see in this video, because the truth is no one on YouTube owes anything to anybody. Meaning, try not to back into a tractor. Meaning that if things go on their farm or homestead, or maybe you're watching a lifestyle channel and it's just in their life in general, if something bad happens, they don't owe anyone anything to talk about it. And just to be frank with you guys, I know there are things that you guys don't see on other people's channels, farms. There's things here on our farm that I'm like, do I really want to share that? I know I'm going to take criticism or whatever the case may be, because y'all, there's just hateful people out there. They're not out to give constructive, kind criticism. They're out to spew hate and to criticize and just have their opinion known, sometimes when they have no idea what they're even talking about. But I'm going to tell you guys what happened, because I think there's misconceptions about what farm life is really like. And if I feel like one of my convictions is, if I don't tell you guys when some of the bad things happen and what it's really like, I'm kind of not giving you a real picture. So here we go. So I'm gonna get right to the point. This is one of the main reasons that I encourage you guys, and I try to do it myself, to count every animal every day. Make sure you lay eyes on them, no one's missing, because that's your first indication that something could be wrong. So what had happened was we were feeding and I didn't see our boar. We have a Berkshire boar. He's not purebred. He has some other things in him, but he was mainly Berkshire. You guys have seen him on our channel. He's fathered a few litters of piglets here on our farm. He was fairly young, actually, and just healthy, and we just really liked him. He threw some good litters, and yeah, really had no indication that anything was wrong. So when I didn't see him, I went looking for him, because I just want to make sure, hey, is he hot, laid up in the pond? You know, it's really, really hot here, so any number of things. I didn't suspect the worst. And I didn't go like searching the pasture either, because if nothing was wrong and he was just laid up, I didn't want to really disturb him just to come eat, because they don't generally eat in the heat of the day anyway. Emily and I were feeding the other animals, drove around the outside of the fence, couldn't find him. The pond is right by the edge of the fence, wasn't in there, and so I was starting to get worried. So this area is kind of a mess right now. You can see a dilapidated shelter there. Here's a shelter that was once a nice shelter. Kind of tore up, and there's a reason for that. So you can see the little shady spots by some of these things sitting out here, and that's where I found him, just laid up in the shade. And I thought, okay, something's up here. And I thought he had kind of gotten stuck under, he was laying in the shade of this truck. I thought he was kind of stuck there. Coming to find out, that was not the problem. He had a problem. And what that was he had become paralyzed in his back end. And the more I tried to get him up, you know, to eat or to find out, you know, what's going on, it became apparent that something was very, very wrong. So I realized very quickly he couldn't stand at all. His back end was paralyzed. And so then became the goal to try to get him in some shelter, not just him using shelter under these vehicles and, you know, farm equipment and stuff. So I brought this over here, tore it half up in the process, because I had to lift it over him, which is a challenge, getting a shelter over a boar that big. These are meant to be drug around and then they go in them, but we didn't have a choice. I worked on it myself. Ben came and helped me. You can see there's several things laying around here that we use to get him shade. We wound up bringing him, this is an older canopy back there that we were like, you know what, if he tears it up, he tears it up. We didn't really care at that point. We were just trying to do what was best for him. There's muddy spots all over the ground. That's because we came out here multiple times a day and basically tried to spoon feed him water. He was very aggressive because he was hurt and he couldn't get away. And so we had to be very careful because he acted like he wanted to kill us, and he's never done that before. But I mean, I might too if I was, you know, all of a sudden my back legs didn't work. So we were taking buckets of water and literally pouring them in his mouth. We were pouring buckets upon buckets around him, so there'd be little puddles around him if he needed to drink, because he kept spilling the big tub of water we were giving him. Putting food right in front of him because we thought, you know, if he's going to recover from whatever this is, he's going to need some strength. He's going to need food. He was eating a little bit, and this went on for days and days. And it became apparent that he was not getting any better. And we have dealt with this on a much less scale before with pigs that were in no way related to him, just different heritage breed pigs we've had. So we've raised large blacks in the past, purebred. In fact, our boar was registered and our sows were full-blooded large blacks. So these were not crossed pigs, and we had them, they had a tendency to get down in the back end. We revived some of them, but they were nowhere near to this severity, and it became apparent it was like a genetic issue. There's several different things that could have caused this. This boar was completely paralyzed. All he could do was drag around with his front legs. It was pitiful. So I'm just telling you from our experience, in my opinion, there's viruses that could cause this, but if it's caused by a virus, you're probably gonna see it in more than one pig. He's the only one on our farm that has had this at this time. There's different syndromes you can look up, but I really think what happened in this, that this is probably some sort of congenital or genetic issue that he had, and it just decided to show itself at this time. Could have also been an injury. They can injure themselves and do that, but there was no sign of an injury. Like I said, at first I thought that might be what happened, but he was literally just laying there. He wasn't like trapped or anything. He was just laying there because he couldn't move. We started to put the pieces together and look at the scene, and I really think this was a genetic issue, and it just presented itself, and it stinks. So we basically hand fed and watered him multiple times a day for days, gave him the best chance we could. There's only so much you can do. You can give antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, and those may work and they may not. That's your personal decision. But at the end of the day, we had to put him down. That seemed like the most merciful thing to do for him at that point, and so that's what we did. We put him down, we hauled him off, and disposed of him. And I know people will think, well, that's a waste of meat, but we are not about to feed our family or anybody else for that matter meat that we don't know for sure what was wrong with that animal. Compromised meat, just not what we're gonna do. The fact that he got down is bad enough, but feeding someone something that could be compromised is another. So we just weren't willing to do that. Again, personal decision. So yeah, we're down one boar. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.